The pit stop is vital to every race team's success. Pull off the track, let your team go to work. Change all 4 tires, fill the fuel cell, and make needed adjustments, all in 8 seconds or less.
Hey, will this really be Kyle Larson's last Indy 500 for as many as 15 or 16 years? And will we have a repeat of last year where the lady will fall off the bridge at Barber onto the racing surface? All that and so much more. Hey, welcome to the Pits Are Open, presented by Speed Sport, your one-stop shop for automotive racing news, and also helped by Redline Ace, also one-stop shop for all your graphic needs. Car liveries, driver uniforms, transporters, logos, hero cards. They've got it all at Redline Ace. And we're glad to have you. Hey, good to be back. I was gone last week, gone in, oh man, it's so sad. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, how horrible. What a horrible thing. I was trapped in Indiana. And it was a great time. I tried to send back some. I wish I had sent more video back, Alex. I really do, because there was some really good video to be had. I wasn't there that long. I went there for a very important meeting. I got to the track around 2, thought that I had missed a lot, and then found out I missed hardly anything because the whole morning had been wiped out by a communication, I don't know, internet satellite problem. I don't know what it was. So we're able to get a lot of viewership in the afternoon, and it was just great being there and seeing fans and listening to the cars. It was just a beautiful day. I had another chance to go to the museum, which is wonderful. So, hey, I want to encourage you to go to our website, pitsareopen.com. Right on across the top of that, there's a banner. Click on there and sign up for our newsletter, please. The newsletter is helpful, comes out only weekly. We're not going to bombard you with newsletter stuff. Comes out on Tuesdays. We resend it on Wednesdays for non-openers. And it will have a preview of the show, today's show. And then it will also have some really good racing news from Speed Sport. So this issue just came out yesterday. Talked about the top speeds at the test for the 500. Talked about the Kyle Larson and Sato crashes. And then also Paul Menard winning at the Trans Am race in Sonoma. And Speed Sport is very active in Trans Am right now. We love Trans Am. I don't know about you. But if you're a big Trans Am fan, give us a comment. Put a comment in the chat room. Hey, I'm a big Trans Am fan. I started my first professional car race was Trans Am. My dad took me to Lime Rock Park, and I got to see, I think Mark Donahue won in a Penske Sunoco, I want to say McLaren Camaro. And I got to tell you, the museum, second time was no disappointment. Second time in 2 weeks. I'm telling you, they did a fabulous job in this museum. I think they did a great job of retaining some of the heritage of the old museum while really bringing it into the 21st century, and great displays and lighting. It's just so cool. And I can't wait to go again, hopefully in May, to the museum. So it'd be wonderful. Got a great show for you today. We've got the Indy Star Motorsports and IndyCar reporter Nathan Brown coming on. And then a first-time guest. I'm really excited about this. First-time guest becoming really one of the authoritative voices in IndyCar, and has a huge following on YouTube. Also has a Patreon show. It's a subscriber show. And then does another show with a good friend who we've had on several times here before, Tony Donahue. So for the first time, David Land will be our guest at the 4:30 hour. So that's exciting. And Alex, thank you for holding down the fort last week. I know it was difficult by yourself and sending video, and you had to get the video done right away. You did a good job.
It was hard to start off, but once we rolled into it, it was easier. And the video was helpful too, to have something to actually talk about. But
do you wish I had sent more video?
Oh, more video is always better.
Yeah, I wish I
better.
had. I don't know what I was thinking.
And
I was so distracted.
Even without audio over it, because I can always commentate and give a little background, or if you want a script, that's always easy too.
Well, you know what happened? I was there. I went there Tuesday afternoon for really a meeting lunch meeting on Wednesday with a potential unbelievably great sponsor. And I'm really hoping we're going to land this. I've been trying to get a hold of these folks for about 4 years, and it finally happened at lunch this time. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if they'll, if the value proposition was strong enough, as our good friend JP Murray says, the value proposition was strong enough. They certainly could do it. They could do it. They could sponsor and do the program that I'm asking them to do without hesitation. I mean, it's a massive, massive company. And so it was great having lunch, and then we got to the trek. But I have to admit, I was distracted at the trek because I was, I don't know about you, but when I have a big meeting like that, I replay it in my mind for a few hours. Oh, I wish I could have said that, or I'm glad I said that, or I'm glad he said that, or what did he mean by that, or what did she mean by that? So it was one of those things, and so I grabbed some video, but I could have gotten a lot more, and I wish.
It's hard to believe that such a big motorsports fan would be so distracted at an event like that.
In the middle of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, cars were ripping around at 220 miles an hour. Yeah.
Eric says his first race was also Trans Am.
Yeah.
Bridgehampton.
Oh yeah, Long Island. Yeah, that's good. I saw somebody today, and they're telling me they were very excited because their company here locally is going to sponsor. There's finally the Craftsman Truck Series is coming back to Connecticut. Used to be a time years ago that we had Xfinity racing all the time. Well, it was Busch. They called it series. They call it Busch Series at Lime Rock, and that's been going for a number of years. And there's a truck race back this year. Excuse me. At Lime Rock, so I'm excited about it. And their company was sponsoring. Told me today, so that was pretty exciting. It was good to hear that. And I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but I want to try to get up there. I love Lime Rock. Consider it my home track, and we enjoy it so much. All right. Well, we're so happy to have back the motorsport IndyCar reporter for the Indy Star, still one of the largest newspapers in the country, and he's all over the place. And we're so glad that he took time to join us. I want to welcome Nathan Brown back to the program. Hi, Nathan.
Hey, Will. How are you doing?
Hang on.
Yeah,
give us another check, Nathan.
Checking audio here, Nathan. Go ahead.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. You can hear me?
Yeah. We're just trying to get your audio, Nathan. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear us, but we can't hear you.
And they'll be able to hear him too.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what we could do if Nathan wants to introduce himself real quick?
Yeah.
I can reset the board. They'll still hear him.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to communicate.
All right. Why don't
after.
we do that, Nathan? Go ahead. Give it a little 30,000 foot view of Nathan Brown, and we're going to reset our board.
Sure, no problem. So
you're here. We hear that.
I am. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go ahead. It just kicked in.
Sweet. Yeah. So as you said, motorsports reporter for the Indianapolis Star. This will be my 6th Indianapolis 500 coming up here in T-minus 25 days. I'm really excited for it. Can't believe this is my 6th IndyCar season. I was actually writing and reflecting on the oddity that it feels like I really haven't had what you might consider a normal Indy 500 yet. There's always something that's stood out and felt historic in the 500s that I've covered, and I get the sense that this year is going to be no different. Really excited to get into the meat of covering the greatest spectacle in racing here in a couple weeks.
What did you think of the test? Had to be exciting. I only caught a few hours of it myself, but it was great to be there.
It was especially after last year, really the last couple of years. I mean, last year was almost entirely rained out. The second day, cars never got on track. In fact, I think it was, if I remember right, it was called off while I was driving to the track in the morning. The rain was so bad, and cars only got a handful of laps through one session and maybe ROP last year, I think, before they had to call things off for rain. So it was really helpful for teams to get 2 full days of on-track running. At least most teams, you had a couple pretty significant mechanical failures and a couple big crashes for some heavy hitters in the field. I'm sure we'll talk about here in a bit, but especially last year when you had most of the test rained out, and then I can't remember, it was at least 1, maybe close to 2 days of of practice that got rained out too. You never know what Mother Nature is going to bring. So for teams to be able to get 2 full days of testing in, not knowing what those 4 days of practice are going to bring, one of those, of course, being completely reserved for Fast Friday and qualifying. So really, when you think about it, you've got 3 full days of practice before we get into qualifying, and then a couple half days with the Monday after and carb day. These, anytime you can get on track is increasingly important as this schedule has continued to shrink. So I know teams, especially with the hybrid this year, adding that into the mix, got a lot out of it.
But that was so important to have practice this year with the hybrid. It's the first time they've really been able to run at speed. I mean, everybody, a few teams have in the past, but boy, what do you think lessons learned out of that was? I mean, we had somebody had a hybrid. Was it Schwartz? Who had somebody have a hybrid problem that couldn't get on?
It was Jack Harvey stopped early at day 1 with a hybrid issue for Brian Reinbold Racing. Santino Ferrucci, who stopped on track at a similar time, they ruled that was a full-blown engine failure. But yeah, Jack was the lone hybrid failure that we knew of coming out of that test. But for everyone else, a really pivotal moment to get deep into the learnings for the hybrid. Teams had, I think it was 11 teams, so everyone outside of Prema had one driver on track for a couple hours of testing back in October, if I remember right, on the oval at IMS. But outside that was the first time that most of these drivers have been on track with hybrid.
Yeah. I don't know that anybody knows exactly what to expect for the race, but I hear there's a lot of talk about maybe the hybrid makes the difference for people who figure out the kind of finicky use of it and the timing of it and how and when to use it. That, it's the new push to pass kind of a thing, and this year at the 500, it could be a big deal.
I think we will see, at least the way I envision it, and from hearing drivers talk about it, obviously they're not going to, this is still really, really new stuff. So guys are a little reluctant to say exactly how they think it's going to affect things or exactly the best way to go about using it, in part because they still don't really know yet. Again, this was just a couple hours on track, and you're really trying to set some baselines on some things and run through a checklist and maybe not getting deep into, if I'm leading the race or if I'm in second place on lap 199, how am I going to go about doing this? But the way I envision it, I feel like this could play a somewhat significant role in the end of the race, presuming that we don't have someone, say like Will Power, for example, in 2018, completely ran away from the rest of the field. If we've got at least 2 drivers running nose to tail as we have the last several years, and we can get green to the finish, I really feel like this could make a difference. I think you'll be able to pass for first place from second place without having to use it, as has been the case the last couple of years. But you could obviously make that pass a lot more impactful if you use it, especially if the person in first place doesn't have it. You can try to make an attempt to pass for the lead without using it, but the person in first place might have their hybrid filled up, so they could try to fend off a pass by giving themselves an extra boost of power. So it's going to be a really interesting game of chess. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to play during the bulk of the race, because drivers said, they still feel like it's pretty difficult to pass once you get third, fourth, especially fifth in a pack. Although I think that added weight of it, not necessarily the actual use of it, but just the fact that it is in the car, makes this car a little bit more difficult to drive and could potentially lead to some guys making some more mistakes that could allow for more passes. So that's almost kind of like the side effects of it, not even the actual use of it. So really interested to see its effects this year, and maybe what learnings teams could take away and the series could take away to make it even more impactful in years to come.
I'm curious. We're talking with Nathan Brown from the Indy Star. Have the equations been laid out, or have you heard talk about it? Like, the hybrid system brings an extra 100 pounds, but produces an extra 60 horsepower. Is that a 1-to-1 trade-off? Where do you have to get to overcome 100 pounds? That's a lot of weight in that, when a car that doesn't weigh that much to begin with. I mean, comparatively speaking, like passenger car. But have you heard that? Have they talked about, oh, this overcomes the weight or doesn't overcome the weight? Have those conversations been had?
I don't. I think the weight, generally speaking, it. I get the impression that the weight, especially with just that 60 horsepower boost and the couple seconds that you get it for, whenever your hybrid battery is fully filled up, I still think it's not nearly as fast. Again, I think some of the reason that they wanted to add that full boost like we would have for qualifying weekend or Fast Friday
Mm-hmm.
for a couple hours of the test last week was to get a sense of whether the series wants to experiment with upping the boost even more than it's been for those 3 days of on-track action the last couple years. I don't know that we have any definitive answer on that yet, but I think that's at least being considered. So we might get to a point where, maybe we're nearing the speeds that we've had the last couple years, where some of those Fast 6 qualifying laps from the fastest guys in the field are in the 235s, 234s pretty consistently. Again, I imagine that they will probably err on the safe side for something like this. They don't want things blowing up in year one of this, but I know that they want to at least keep things, say, in the 230s. After you've had years of these speeds gradually increasing a little bit, it would be a real shame if things took a big dive. And I don't think we'll see that anyways, even if they don't tinker with it. We had the fastest Noto lap on that boost session on Thursday last week from Takuma Sato that was in the 232.5s. So already when teams and engine manufacturers aren't quite pushing it to the limit, you've got pretty solid laps that are getting turned. So I imagine we'll be in that same neighborhood, but whether this is going to be record setting or surpass last year will ultimately determine how much they're willing to push the limit on the hybrid.
My sense is we're going to see overall lower speeds. I don't think we'll see any record set, and I don't think we're going to see really those kind. Which is disappointing because I remember back in the day we were hitting 237 in qualifying. So I remember and I think a lot of fans want to get back to that time. And what's almost paradoxical about it is we have arguably the strongest, safest chassis we've ever had. People hit so hard now. Sato crushed it, and he's fine. But basically, I'm sure he's stiff and bruised. But we've got the hardiest, safest cars we ever had. But we can't get it back up to that speed where we're closer to 240. Which,
I think there's a chance for that when we get this new car online here in 2 to 3 years, whatever that timeline ultimately ends up looking like. When you've got ideally the same amount of power output from the engine and the addition of the hybrid and a car that is, it's been promised that it will be at least a little bit lighter. If you combine that with potentially a more powerful hybrid, maybe we get back into record-setting conversations. I would hope in a car that's a little bit easier for drivers to manage. You hear what guys have to deal with at these speeds with no power steering is pretty incredible. So we'll see what that brings in a couple of years.
As a longtime fan, you can't help but miss, Tom Carnegie on the mic, and it's a new track record. You just don't hear it anymore. It just, we don't talk about it anymore. It's just like, all right, let's shift gears here. No pun intended. Kyle Larson. I'm kind of confused by this, but maybe you wrote an article, I think, on it. So Kyle says this could be his last 500 for a long time. Is that because of his NASCAR commitment? Is that Hendrick Motorsport? Why is he coming out that now, not even having done the second 500, saying this is it for a long time? What's the thought behind that?
I think there could potentially be a couple different factors, but I think the biggest thing that I take out of it is this is a taxing thing for him to do, for Hendrick Motorsports to put together, to do it well and do it right. And you know, going through everything they went through last year, every single year, putting all this time, effort, money into the 500, then ultimately being at the will of Mother Nature
Yeah.
on whether he's actually going to be able to run the 500 or not, as they've pledged they will be at the Coke 600 no matter what. So if we have a tiny delay weather-wise this year in the 500, whether they will start the race and ultimately have to pull him out of the car, or whether the car won't run at all, he will be in that NASCAR race. So with the rules in NASCAR now, part of me, I think, just kind of thinks this is a really cool, iconic thing for Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon and everyone at Hendrick Motorsports to be a part of, along with Kyle. But I think this is, you lose some of the novelty of it after doing it for a third, fourth, fifth, sixth year in a row. The arguments from fans, who I heard from after I published that story yesterday, which I can totally understand, is, after Kyle does this 3, 4, 5 times, already you come into this year thinking in the right situation, he's probably got the racecraft and the speed and the comfort in the car to pull off a win in the right circumstances. He's not going to be one of your favorites, but he could become one of those favorites in 5 years. But I just don't think that that's something that he and the folks at Hendrick ultimately want to pursue. But as he said, at the same time, I definitely think this is something that he would want to pursue again in the future when when he's in the kind of twilight of his career and he's hung up his full-time NASCAR racing exploits, kind of in his Jimmy Johnson era, if you will, from the last couple of years. So we certainly hope we'll have Kyle back, but it doesn't sound like it will be before the 2040 timeline or so. He threw at the number 15 years. Obviously, we don't know how long Kyle is going to race full-time in NASCAR, but certainly seems like someone who'll be up at the top of that sport for a while.
Yeah. Hey, 2 crashes. Sato hit hard. Kyle not as hard, and he slowed the car down pretty well. Any takeaways there? Any reason? I mean, just lost it. I mean, Sato was on a hot lap anyway, but any feedback, any report that you can give us on those 2 incidents?
So both incidents happened on the driver's first lap at pace in that time out on track. I think that was actually Kyle's first lap of the day at pace. Sato had already been out for one session of 4 or 5 laps or so, and during that time frame he had turned what turned out to be the fastest no-toe speed of the day, but actually what stood for a little bit before those 2 crashes as the fastest lap overall of that session, until Scott McLaughlin topped it before the end there. Really unfortunate part was Takuma Sato's brand new chassis from RLL that they had obviously been rubbing on and perfecting and working on all off season, that had come brand new is totaled. The tub is damaged beyond repair, so they now start brand new on a another chassis for him. It sounds like, from what I've heard, they ordered one and got one straight from Dallara again, so another brand new car that they will have to build up and work on to get as aerodynamically fit and perfect as possible. But that's a process, as you well know, that teams spend months on in the off season,
weeks,
and oftentimes even in those months don't hit on perfectly. So this is a 500 winning organization, and I have no doubt they'll do as good a job as humanly possible. But it's just hard to imagine as fast as that car was for Sato, as we saw in the first day plus of that test, that it is going to be nearly as fast as it was. He's been in his last couple of years when he has been with RLL, albeit with a small break in between at Coyne and Ganassi. He's been the fastest car on that team, so I still would imagine that he will find an ability to pull and extract every ounce of speed in that car. But it's just hard to imagine that he is going to be nearly as successful and have maybe nearly as solid of a May and put himself in as good of a position as he could have had he not had that accident.
Yeah. Any have you picked up any vibe on the fact that we will not have a female driver in the 500 this year? I'm valiant effort, I know, but Catherine Legg and many trying to help out there from the chassis side of things. She's investing, I guess, Alpha's investing that money in NASCAR, which I hate to see it, but you know, I am an IndyCar guy. Um, anything you're hearing from just fans or just a general feeling in the community that we're not going to have a female in the race this year?
It's a real shame. Catherine's had a tough go of it. Admittedly, these last couple years as she's come back, she she joined RLL in a year where those cars all struggled to make the race in 2023, and she was fastest among them and qualified 29th or 30th, and wasn't going to have a very strong day there. And then she, I think, spun on pit lane, and her day ended early. And then last year, with Dale Coyne Racing, I think had an engine failure within the first 50 laps or so of the race, and never really had a chance to do much of anything. So it's a shame that her, you certainly hope that she's back, but knowing how few one-offs we have in this series every single year, now that we have 27 solid full-time entries, you go and think of the other 7 we have. We have 2 from Dreyer and Reinbold, and they've got 2 drivers that I'm sure they would love to hold on to for the foreseeable future. And Ryan Hunter-Reay and Jack Harvey. You've got Marco Andretti, who I'm sure will hopefully drive at Andretti Global until he doesn't want to anymore. You've got Elio Castroneves in the same position at Meyer Shank Racing. Aaron McLaren, you would imagine, even if it's not Kyle Larson next year, will roll out an additional car, but probably for someone that's just a little bit bigger of a star in the racing world. That's always been their ambition. Ed Carpenter always rolls out a third car for himself. I'm not counting, but I feel like we've just about named all of them. And so it's, once you get to that 33, 34 range, the engine manufacturers are pretty reluctant to hand out an extra engine. She's been very close with folks at Honda, and oddly enough, the engine side of things was not was not her shortcoming this year. It seems like maybe in hindsight, if she or her camp had been willing to, go and, put in a purchase order from Dallara and buy their own chassis, maybe this would have been able to come together. But that's not necessarily something that you're thinking about needing to do when you're a driver. Typically, as we've been running this car for 15 years now, you don't think of chassis being tough to come by. But if you're not, if it's not easy to land with one of these teams in a one-off that they're already kind of planning to run, teams aren't maybe super duper, as expenses have gone tight, and you've got new parts that are being used with the addition of the hybrid and things like that. Your top teams aren't necessarily looking to lease out a chassis, and there were a couple that were kind of out there on the market. Prema
scooped up that one from RC
Enerson and his family, and Jacob Abel and his father Bill had one that Bill and Abel Motorsports had purchased last year with the hope of being able to run the 500, which they ultimately decided not to do. And understandably, with knowing that we're going to have at least one driver that gets sent home, I can understand why the folks at Abel didn't want to basically, open up the opportunity to have another car competing against Jacob for one of the spots in the races, knowing that we had a coin car that was bumped last year by a rookie, which Jacob is. So it's a tough situation for Catherine. Tough that we, over a couple different stints, just haven't been able to have a female driver that's been able to get some staying power in this race, despite the folks at Penske Entertainment seemingly making that a priority over the last couple of years, and the loss of a mainstream consumer facing sponsor like Elf, which had some of the best activation that I have seen.
It was a buzz
around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway last year with their their stand and their tent that they had kind of in that fan sponsor village there in the infield of the track was really cool to see. My wife in particular really connected with that, and I think things like that are what this sport needs to become more culturally relevant in the not only the mainstream sports arena, but just the mainstream cultural framework when you're reaching folks that otherwise might not have heard of or been interested in or wanted to pay attention to the Indy 500, and losing that in itself is tough. Losing it to the NASCAR world that IndyCar is, of course, competing with is even tougher. So,
well, and I feel bad too. I wish they'd stop throwing her in the deep end.
yeah,
I mean, let her figure out Xfinity. You know, if you're gonna, rather than trying to put her in an Xfinity car and then dump her in a Cup car, which is as hard, you know, that's a worse transition as it would be an Indy Next car to a regular Indy car. I feel like just let her get her bearings with the Xfinity car and stop playing around with the Cup thing. But whatever. It's sad. It's just disappointing because you're right. I mean, we want to get more female involvement in racing. We want to see more female fans, and you know, a lot of the little girls. She just came out with her own book, a girls' version book, which you know is going to draw a lot of young women interested. I think so. Anyway, hey, listen, thank you so much. I know you're busy. Look forward to seeing you in May at some point. Maybe we can grab a coffee. Thank you so much. As always, doing a great job. Nathan Brown, everybody, Indy Star. Thank you so much, Nathan.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to show a Speed Sport promo. Alex, is that correct? The Speed Sport promo? And then we're going to welcome a great guest. I'm so excited to have him in just a few moments. So watch this, and we'll be right back with David Land.
Live this weekend on Speed Sport 1, the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli heads to Monterey, California for the Mission Foods Laguna Seca Speed Tour at WeatherTech Raceway. On Saturday, watch the Cube 3 Architecture TA2 Series starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. On Sunday, the TA and GT classes will air at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. The Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli is live on Speed Sport 1. Go to speedsport1.com for details and viewing options.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Listen, our next guest, this is so exciting. Been watching him for quite a while. He has really become one of the more authoritative voices in IndyCar. Not an overnight success. He's been working hard at this for quite a while. And whenever they put something out, he's got his own program. He's got a YouTube show. He's got a subscription-based Patreon show. And now he and Tony Donahue, who we've had on several times, do another show. And he's busy, but when they put something out, it's a full menu. You don't walk away hungry. I'll say that right now. And I'm so thrilled to have David Land on the program. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey, Will, we're eating good today, for sure. I'm looking forward to talking with you. I appreciate the invite and looking forward to talking.
Thank you. Give for the three people that haven't heard of you. Let's give us a little overview. I mean, you've been at it for a while and you've been faithful. Tell us about your evolution and things are really coming together for you now. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a wild journey. You know, I've always had a passion for racing. Didn't exactly know how to get into it. You know, I think a lot of people kind of run into that when your name's not Andretti or Foyt or Unser, right? So I had to find my own way in. And I had some skills with broadcasting and journalism. And, you know, I was at a point in my life where I needed to find something to do. And I was kind of at a dead end. And I said, well, I've got this YouTube channel. And that was around the time when people were really starting to make money on YouTube and being able to have a career. And I said, well,
David, when did you start the YouTube channel?
So I started the YouTube channel really just as a hobby in 2008, believe it or not. So I was an early adopter to the program, that's for sure. But I really got serious about it around 2014, 2015, as a way to try to break into the sport. Now, did I think I was ever going to make it? No, but somehow I've made it, and it's just been this incredible journey. And to your point, Will, for sure, things have been very good recently. I'm starting to really feel kind of integrated into the sport in a way that I haven't felt in the past. So a lot of that recognition is not lost on me. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, I love catching your shows, and I think you and Tony do a great job together on on Verified. I know he had a little hiccup there, new studio and changed the stuff around a little bit, but the thing I like about whenever you're on and whatever you do, you don't shy away from the hard topics.
Mhm.
A lot of times, and I was in broadcast for 13 years on a major 50,000 watt show. We did political talk, and a lot of times people would be afraid to say the hard thing about a politician or an ongoing issue because of government, because they'd be afraid they'd lose access. And so there's always this balance between, don't hit them too hard, don't throw them too high inside, because they may not come back, they may not want to talk to you. And I think you do a great job of balancing, bringing the tough issues with an air of respect. I mean, you're not throwing fire bombs, you're not out to hurt anybody, but you're saying what needs to be said and discussed. And I really applaud you for that.
Yeah, and it's as you know, Will, you know pretty well that it's a balancing act. It really is, because this is a sport of ego. There's a lot of egos, and you have to balance sometimes what you say, how you say it, what information you give, what information you don't give, to try to tell the truth in a way that allows you to keep your access. For sure, I think that's part of it. Not that really I've ever had any kind of threats of losing it, believe it or not. I think that there is an understanding that, as long as you're keeping your criticism, even if they're criticisms, as long as they're fact-based, even if the opinion doesn't line up with someone else's, that's okay. The point where you would run into trouble, I would say, is if you just are spreading falsities. But as long as you stay kind of outside of that kind of danger zone, you're okay.
Well, I mean, you've interviewed people you're interviewing a lot of drivers now. I've seen you talking to Roger Penske.
That was wild, wasn't it?
You're really hitting it, which is, all of us aspiring. I just started this myself not too long ago, coming out of the radio world. So I mean, we're all looking to you. I mean, when I grow up, I want to be David Land, which is kind of a cool thing. But we talk about this, and I want to hit some of these issues. What was your take from the test? I mean, I'm very concerned that we're not going to see the really exciting speeds that we've seen recently until we figure out, the hybrid, and do we need a hybrid in a new car? I mean, people are having that conversation. What's your take from the test, and especially the hybrid in the test, David?
Boy, if I never have to talk about the hybrid again, I'll be a happy man. No, so that is the big story. It's the biggest story. I actually was surprised. I thought the speeds were going to be much lower than they were. The fact that Takuma, I mean, obviously he completely demolished his car in doing so, but the fact that Takuma ran a 232.7 or whatever it was without a tow, I don't think we expected that. I kind of expected we would kind of be happy to see 230 miles an hour, not 232. Yeah. So I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think the racing is going to be much different or much better with the hybrid. We're going to have to see, and we're really not going to know, quite frankly, until the race, what the hybrid Indy 500 will look like, if it'll be all that much different. At least from what I saw, it looked very, very similar. And that similarity means that a lot of the similar names that we saw last year, I think, are going to be running up front. I think that Team Penske was, I don't know if they were sandbagging, but I don't think they were showing absolutely everything they had. I think it's kind of telling that throughout the motorsport apparatus around IndyCar racing, the talk has all been, especially in the offseason, that Chevy made a step and Honda didn't. Well, when we looked at the speed charts, what did we see? We saw a bunch of H's up there. So that tells me that Chevy hasn't shown all their cards yet. And in particular, it's Team Penske. And I think if you wanted me to be really specific, it's that number 3 Pennzoil car of Scott McLaughlin. I think he is the odds-on favorite going into the month of May.
Yeah, he had a great test. Just became a U.S. citizen. So proud of him for that, right? Dual citizenship. I'll tell you, I think Penske again is the team to beat. But I'll tell you who my favorite is, and I mean, maybe that's because he's from Connecticut, but he's got a great finishing order. He's finished third, he's finished fourth, and I think we could have another Italian in victory lane this year in Santino Ferrucci. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, that would be cool, and I'll tell you, it would bring the house down if one of AJ Foyt's cars, particularly that number 14, drove into
Yes.
victory lane.
Yes.
He was so close in 2023, and you wonder, had they not all crashed there at the end,
That
what
red flag
finish
at the
might
end
have
just
been.
completely messed him up. It's just horrible.
For sure.
Yeah,
So
right.
we'll see. I mean, we will see what happens with Santino. I think he's going to be up there. But you know, there's an awful lot of guys right now that we could probably point to and say that'd be cool to see him in victory lane.
Yeah.
But as we know, Will, from being historians of this Indianapolis 500, is it's rarely a straightforward race, and rarely the fastest car wins.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, we talk about the fact that Takuma Sato pancaked his car and tubbed it and new chassis, and we say, well, very rarely is the backup car better or as good as the primary. But then you go back to 1969, Mario destroyed his high-tech four-wheel drive Lotus, came out with the Bronner Hawk and pulled it off. So I mean, it's happened before. Backup cars have won, but it certainly isn't the rule, and it's certainly something that you're concerned about going into it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing nowadays versus 1969 is that, you know, there was pretty big gaps between the fastest and the slowest cars. You know, that Lotus was way ahead of everybody else, but then when he got into the Bronner Hawk, he still put that car on the front row.
Yeah.
So nowadays, there's so many small speed secrets. When you have a car that is as dominant as Takuma Sato's looked like it might have been, and of course, we'll never know now what that car might have been capable of, you have to go back in a very short amount of time and put those speed secrets back in a new car. And you think about how long some of the teams and how much effort some of those teams put in the entire year into their Indy 500 cars to write it off in April. That's rough. That's rough for the Rahal Letterman Lanigan team.
That hurts big time. I think you know, I think of Dreyer Reinbold. I mean, that's their it. That's what they do. I mean, they run the rally cars, of course, but I mean, they're the whole year working on these Indy cars, and you know, I don't know. I'd like to see them do well. I'd like, you know, I love Ed Carpenter. I mean, I'd love to see Ed Carpenter pull it off one more time, you know, and get a win. There's just so many favorites. I mean, Alex Palou. I mean, Alex was fast. And not surprisingly, but you know, is he still not won on oval, David?
Not on an oval. Yeah, it's kind of incredible. He's got all these championships, all these wins, but the oval win has eluded him to this point. But you know, I kind of said this earlier, is that I think Alex Palou's due, and it would not surprise me in the least that if it's going to come, it's going to be the 109th Indy 500.
Yeah, I think so. But again, my sentimental favorite keeps clouding my judgment and vision. So we'll see if he. Let's get away from racing for a second. I know you spent a lot of time at the museum. I had my chance now. Second time in 2 weeks I was at the museum. What a fabulous job they did with that renovation. Do you agree?
Absolutely incredible. You know, it's funny. I've been in there so much that Steve Shunk thinks I have a platinum card now for the museum. But no, it's a magical, wonderful place. It's always been a magical, wonderful place. It's just got that little extra magic now.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I mean, if you haven't gone, get there and you know, just make a point of it, because it is almost like a shrine to our love of IndyCar racing. They did such a good job of capturing the starting line, displaying the cars, displaying the artifacts. It really is special. It's really special.
I mean, I still get goosebumps and tears on race morning with Back Home Again in Indiana and generally the national anthem. And when I went there, I saw you that on the opening public day, I saw you guys there. And we walk in and I'm standing, and Joe Hale grabbed me from the front and says, "Oh, you got to stand on the bricks. That's the best place to see it." All right, fine. So I didn't know what it was. And I'm going to tell you what, I had tears in my eyes when I was walking away from that. I was like, you got to be kidding me. They captured the passion, the emotion, the feeling. I mean, and when those, I hate to, you know, spoiler alert, but when the Thunderbirds fly overhead, the way they'd set that, I mean, seriously, I was a mush. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's amazing because I've had the opportunity to stand down there. Obviously, you have as an entrant in the 500, and I can tell you that it captures as close as that feels to race morning and all of that tension, all of that buildup, all of that tradition. It's there. It's incredible. I mean, the last time I was in there, I brought my friend Matt in there, and behind us was a lady just bawling her eyes out, crying.
Yeah.
I mean, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Well, I was afraid. I went in as a skeptic because I started going to the museum in 1982 was my first trip to the museum. And so I probably, if I said 100 times between then and now, I probably I'm too light on the number, right? But my fear was I knew it wasn't, a modern museum. I knew it wasn't special or fancy. But what I like was proximity. I love the fact that all the cars, they're right there. You could just about, if you wanted to, you could touch them. Obviously, we don't. And I was afraid that they were going to create such a separation between, lovers of racing and the cars. And I didn't feel that way at all. In fact, the Mark Donohue car, the 72 McLaren, the way they have that on the angle and the lighting, I mean, I think it looks better, as good as it's ever looked. And I say that about several of those cars. I just feel like they did such a wonderful job. I can't get over how I walked in a skeptic. I walked out a believer, I guess I'll say that.
Well, it's incredibly well thought out. I mean, and I actually had an opportunity to serve on an advisory board for the museum when they were doing a lot of this renovation. So I saw a lot of this stuff early on, and I'll tell you, I mean, they left no stone unturned to try to put this thing together the right way. Because I saw some of the process, and and it's obvious in the final product, as you mentioned.
Of course, Joe Hale stepping down, leaving in June at some point, and now the nationwide search begins for the successor. I think be interesting to see who ends up in that I think very important spot, guiding the legacy of the sport, and particularly the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Incredibly important. And Joe Hale, I mean, his legacy is he saw this renovation all the way through, right? And so it's up to the next person to take that baton. I have all the confidence in the world that they're going to find the right person, and I'm looking forward to meeting them.
I am too. Dad, how much time? I mean, you do so much between your YouTube show, your subscription show on Patreon, you're Unverified with Tony. How do you spend? How much time do you spend prepping, or is it just like it just overflows naturally? How does that work?
Well, I mean, it depends what the video is, right? I mean, the advantage of doing what I do is that my entire life has been prep, right? I wake up and I'm probably thinking about racing. I wake up and I'm reading Twitter and I'm looking at racing tweets. Obviously, I watch the races. I pay attention. I travel to the races. I cover them. I talk to the people. Huge. I mean, you ought to see some of the text threads I have with people. I mean, it's novels of just talking through problems or ideas of this sport. I've had long calls. I mean, I had an hour and 44-minute call with somebody yesterday. I mean, it was insane. And that's just kind of, I almost feel so ingrained in it now that there's a lot of work. It's very time consuming. It takes up a lot of my life. But I wouldn't say it's overwhelming either. It's kind of I've got a nice balance going right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I obviously I've been in ministry for 30 years and pastoring the church that I'm at for 25. I tell people all the time, I haven't had a job for 25 years. And not that it's not hard, and not that it's not a lot of things going on when you add it up. It's just that you feel so committed, so passionate about it. It really isn't like work. It's just like you're doing something that you love. And I kind of feel this is becoming for me on a much smaller level than you, but this is starting to become the same thing for me. I mean, I just love doing this. I love talking about racing. I love having great guests on. Our shows are very different. Your show, you and Tony are basically, talking and back and forth about facts. And when you do a show on your own, you're talking all facts. We're more guest based, and we've been very blessed. But I just love doing it. I love tracking the guests down. I love getting people lined up. Everything about it is fun. So I can only imagine you have that same experience.
100%. If it's not fun, why the heck are we doing it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We need more content, as you know. So certainly your show and everybody else's shows are all very appreciated. They might be different, but they serve, a purpose. It's all about getting people to talk about the sport we love. So we appreciate that you're doing it, Will.
So what's the month of May looking like? You're already getting ready for it. I'm sure. The Grand Prix happens first, so you're going to be covering that, and then the following Tuesday we kick into practice, full-fledged practice, and get ready for qualifying. So are you at the track every day? Are you filming video every day? Are you looking to talk to? I mean, what's your month of May like, David?
It's every day, bro. It's gonna be it's intense. It's very, very intense. It's every day. It is early mornings, late nights, video, at least one video every day. At least it ends up being a lot more than that. But it's the Indianapolis 500. It's the most important race in the world. And it's one that's always so important for my channel. So we absolutely stand on the gas for it. So yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there every day there are cars on track, and I'll be there virtually every day that there aren't cars on track.
Yeah.
So but it's a labor of love as you brought up. So lots of content coming, Will. That's for sure.
Well, that's why I envy you guys. You and Tony, you're out there, right? So I come out there, but you're out there, and still trying to talk my wife into moving to Indiana, but I don't know. We'll see how that works out. So we got Barber. I love Barber. I've always liked Barber. I like the track. I love the museum. Last year we had the crisis with the lady come falling off the bridge onto the track. So what are we looking for? Let's do a quick Barber preview. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope Georgina doesn't fall off the bridge again. That was a heck of a moment. But, well, I mean, the storyline really is, can Scott McLaughlin win 3 in a row? He's been so strong at that racetrack.
Yes.
Chevy has not won this year. Penske has not won this year. So I think they're all looking to kind of get their season turned around. Obviously, we've got the Alex Palou factor that's going to be always difficult to overcome. But Barber has been, to your point, Will, it's been one of the more competitive racetracks on the calendar. It's usually a very exciting race, despite the fact that there's really not that many straightaways. To the point about the hybrid, we're going to see. It's a narrow track with undulations, typically something that dirty air seems to be a factor, even with a lighter car. Now you're adding weight to it. Is that going to change the dynamics, the vehicle dynamics at Barber? I don't know. That's going to be a question mark, but I think it's going to be a good kickoff to May. I think it's going to be a good race, and certainly IndyCars on a natural terrain road course as beautiful as Barber. That's always good television, even if it's a bit processional.
Interested to see what the ratings will be like. I know we've both talked about Fox doing an okay job, some deficiencies. Losing the feed for 15 minutes was pretty monumental. What do you think we have to look at for this version? Do you think Fox will continue to try to make improvements? Do you think, are we going to see any more new commercials, or is it just going to be the recycling of the Palau New Garden commercials? Are we going to see something, a Pato Award commercial? What do you think?
I wouldn't be surprised to see some stuff for the Indianapolis 500. I think they were filming something at the open test. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was cars rolling by. So we'll see. I think I would be very surprised if there's not a massive promotional push for the 500. And I think Barber, to your point with the TV rating, well, the good news is they're not going up directly against NASCAR nor Formula One. Nor is there really a big sporting event like the Masters or whatever that they're going to have to go up against this week. So I think if you're looking at the ratings, you're hoping that they're an improvement over Long Beach. You'd probably want it to get at or above the level of the thermal race, which was, I think, 700,000 people. I think if you can start creeping back towards that St. Pete number, that's what you're looking for. Yeah. And you're looking for a strong start to May. You want to be able to get people in the habit starting this week, then moving on to the GP week, qualifying the 500 Detroit, and then on to Gateway, Road America, and the rest of the season. So this could be the start of something great. We hope, anyway.
Do you miss Peacock?
No, not in the slightest.
Okay. I was a Peacock fan, so I had it on my phone, had it on the TV, and I liked being able to have that instant access to it. But I mean, a lot has been on FS1 and FS2, so I mean that's been a good kind of a good substitute, I think.
Yeah, and all the races are available the day after on YouTube, which I think is just fantastic. So the only problem I really had with Peacock was just it felt like there were too many ads.
No, there were. You win.
It's a premium service. Turn the ads down, my Lord.
Somebody's got to pay for it. Hey, listen, I want to say thank you again. I know you're busy. I know you're always working, and this is great. And I hope that you'll consider coming back again sometime. We'd love to have you on. So, best place for folks to get you: YouTube, David Land. Patreon is also the DL 500 Club. That's subscription based. And then YouTube, you guys are on live. Now, did you move to Thursdays now, or are you still back to Tuesdays?
No, we're back to Tuesdays. I think one of our shows is going to be on Monday during May. I think it's the week before practice, or the day before practice. But we're Tuesdays with Unverified. It's patreon.com/David Land. And of course, you can find me most often on YouTube. Just search my name and look for the purple logo.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And like I said, when I grow up, I want to be David Land. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job. And thanks for taking time for us today. I'm sure our audience appreciate it. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you, David.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Will.
David Land, everybody. All right. Listen, we're going to wrap it up. And that was great. What a great show, Alex, huh? Nathan did a great job. David always does a great job. And you did a great job. So thank you so much. We're going to keep at it. Again, please, if you haven't already, please go to our website, pitsareopen.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Very important. Again, we will not bombard you. It's weekly. We're on YouTube. You can also sign up for the Pits Are Open on Instagram, which we also, everything we post for that, we also post on our Maserati Autosport Instagram, Twitter, X, and Facebook page. So you can do that. And for the old school, you can still check out Spirit of Speedway. You can also buy a book. You can go to the pitsareopen.com website, and you can order the book directly there. And what a great opportunity for you to spend time with your kids and your grandkids reading what I think is the greatest children's book ever written about aspirations and dreams and pursuing the great 500-mile race. So that's it for us today. We'll be back next week, and a guest to be announced, but I think we got 2 good ones for you. That's our goal every week, two new guests, and we're building quite a guest list. So thank you. Also, don't forget hey, if you ever want to leave us a voice message, you can do that. You go right to the website, pitsareopen.com, and right in the bottom corner of the screen, there's a little microphone. You click on that microphone, and you can leave us a voice message. And I'd love to do that. A couple have come through. We look forward to that. So, Alex, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share. Those of you watching on YouTube, you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. So very important to us as we're trying to build our audience. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. God bless you. Have a good rest of your week, and enjoy Barber on Sunday, and we'll see you next week.